Diary. We actually have a very special interview, at least for me. We have a hometown guy, an actual homegrown Cristian Ortiz, second team player with Inter Miami and former Columbus High School alumni. Man, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, I'm excited to be here and talk to you on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. So just to get started, just to give people a little background, we really like to kind of find out what made Cristian Ortiz. If you could take us back, like what's some of your earliest soccer memories?
Well, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I lived there till I was 8. And I used to play all the time in the beach with my friends, with my dad, my teammates. And I just loved playing because it was like the only thing that we can do outside. And that took me here to Miami. And when I came here, I started playing Kendall Coalition, if you know Kendall.
Yeah.
And I also played for Pancras too.
Nice, man.
So
Your first soccer memories are in Puerto Rico. What was that like, man? What was the difference between like being a kid playing soccer in Puerto Rico than being a kid playing soccer here?
well, in Puerto Rico, it's a very different environment. I feel like our culture is very like passionate. We're passionate about everything we do. So the soccer over there was very intense. Everyone was going 100%. And even as a kid, I still remember how the games went and how we would celebrate and everything. So it was fun.
Yeah, man. I actually heard that Puerto Rico is getting another USL championship team. Maybe Bad Bunny is one.
Yeah, Bad Bunny.
So that's pretty cool, pretty exciting. I remember when they had their first team, there was a lot of excitement and love behind the team. So I'm super happy to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, from Kendall Coalition, you end up at Columbus High School.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know, South Florida, the 7A high school league is super competitive. And we take it pretty seriously here. Other parts of the country, I don't know, but South Florida definitely has serious high school soccer. Tell us about that, man.
Yeah, it was. I mean, my freshman year, I didn't want to try out because I felt like I wasn't ready yet to start playing high school and also play club.
Mm-hmm.
But sophomore year, I gave it a try, and I was like, damn, like, these boys know how to play.
Yeah.
So then I just focused, and I was also playing club at Tropical, which that's my home for me. I think they gave me everything, and it was the best 5 years of my life at Tropical for sure.
Really?
It brought me the love for the game even more. So I'm very grateful.
Nice, man. That's interesting to hear. So when you played there, you were playing in ECNL at Tropical, or?
Yeah, but that was the first 4 years. It was just club, and it was kind of like a family because we all like grew up together.
Right.
And then my senior year and junior year, we started playing with Prime, which is ECNL, and that was great. It brought a lot of opportunities, especially in a league that a lot of colleges look at.
Yeah,
and it was just good level.
Yes, I love the ECNL high school like mix, the combination, right? Because it's like it gives you double the exposure, double the experience, and they kind of fit together really nicely. Like now that you've had the opportunity to play, at multiple youth pathways, what was the difference between ECNL high school and playing MLS with Inter?
Well, it was a big change. I'll say that. I feel like ECNL and high school is mostly like, it was a different game, different style for sure. It was very direct, and you were just having fun, You were just playing with your boys, you're having fun. And then MLS started getting a bit more serious. That's when you look at like everyone has level, and honestly, it's whoever has confidence and whoever works harder is gonna make it.
So it's interesting you say that, right? So we just had DiPolito, who plays at Fordham. He was ridiculous last year, D1 soccer player, and he was the high school player of the year in New York for summers. And he was saying that playing club in high school, it allowed him to develop like more of that like Jenga free flowing. He tries crazy stuff, but like it's wild, and it's translated to D1, which a lot of people think it doesn't. But one thing that he's noticed, and I've definitely noticed, is that sometimes, not all the time, but a lot of time, a lot of the MLS players or the academy players, turn into what people call like system players.
Yeah.
Very good, technically sound, great players, but they're like, I don't want to say robots, but system players. Do you think there's any truth to that? Meaning like that you got to develop differently from playing club in high school than somebody who played academy their whole life?
Well, I kind of agree with that because even for me, I experienced that as well my first year. I was also a player that would try a lot of crazy stuff when I was in high school club, and it will work, you know, and that built my confidence over time. And as soon as I got to Inter, you realize that there's a lot of players that can do the same thing. So I kind of got away from that, and I started focusing on, you know, make the good pass, make the right option, and that kind of messed up my game a little bit, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, but I do agree with that statement.
Yeah, it's true, right? Like I was talking to a scout one time, and he's like, "Well, there's no players that excite me." You know, I'm not gonna say the two teams, but we were watching two really good teams. He's like, "There's no players that excite me." I was like, "What?" And then he explained that they're all system players. So I do kind of see where, you know, because when I went to watch you played, like every time you touched the ball, it was exciting. Like every time you got the ball, it was like, oh, something's gonna happen. And for other players, it's like, yeah, they're crisp, they're tight on the ball. And it's probably actually how you made it from, you know, club, high school to Inter, right? You went viral. Talk about that viral moment with Columbus High School that kind of got you to Inter.
Yeah, it was a banger.
Yeah.
It was a nice goal that I scored.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and I guess it got to the Inter coaches. And
They got everywhere.
yeah.
You being biased.
Yeah, that was a great goal.
Yeah.
I mean, the best part was the celebration after when I was with my teammates. Yeah, I still remember that.
That was a special moment, man.
Yeah.
So if you were to tell people like about high school soccer in South Florida, what would you say?
I say play it.
Yeah.
I would say play it because, I mean, you develop yourself and you also develop a bond with, you know, your brothers. You play with your brothers and it creates a love for the game even stronger. So I think you should play it.
Absolutely, man. So now I guess the next thing we definitely got to get into is so you're at Inter now, and from Inter you had like a really crazy rise in maybe I would say probably a year from going from Inter to Puerto Rico. Did you start U18s or U20s?
Well, first team, and then I went to U20s.
Oh, you went first team first.
Yeah.
But didn't you get called up before that for like a camp or something?
They had a camp here for Gold Cup.
Yeah, tell us how that happened. Yeah.
Well, I was still at Tropical at the time.
Oh.
I was training with Inter, and they had a Gold Cup here. It was two of our teammates and me. We went to go train with them, and I guess it went well. And they called me up.
Pretty well.
Yeah. They called me up for the next camp, and from there, it kept on going on.
I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? Like, okay, you go from Columbus to and Tropical to Inter, and then you're playing for the Puerto Rican senior team.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? How did that feel? What was that like?
I mean, the first camp I ever got my debut.
Yeah.
I couldn't celebrate it as much because we lost that game.
Right.
I'm trying to remember. I think Guyana. I'm sorry if yeah, Guyana.
Yeah, it was Guyana, and then we played what, Haiti?
After that was against Bahamas. That was my home debut.
Yeah.
And that was one of the best feelings in the world. You know, it's something you dream about ever since you were little. And also, I was in the same stadium watching Puerto Rico play Spain when I was little.
Yeah.
In Puerto Rico, yeah.
That's just a real feeling, right? Like going from a kid watching them to playing in the same stadium.
Yeah, so it was crazy.
Now you mentioned that you like were playing on the beach with your family, your dad. You come from a soccer family like that loves soccer. What was your dad's reaction when you made the senior team for Puerto Rico?
Well, they were obviously happy. That's all they would talk to me about. Oh, my son plays in Puerto Rico, whatever. But I mean, that's parents, the love for the kids.
Man, Miami, like, we have such a unique culture for soccer. And like you mentioned, Victor Pastor, like such a big figure in South Florida and has helped so many, young players get to where they are. What's it like having that type of network in South Florida and coming through the ranks in South Florida?
Well, it's obviously big opportunities for everyone. And I feel like if you perform, you're gonna get seen by, especially here in Miami, you're gonna get seen no matter what league or where you play. So, and I'm very big fan of how the network is here, because, like I said, it creates a lot of opportunities for young players and players who don't get the opportunities like others.
You know, that's actually a question I want to ask you later, but I'll ask you now because I think it's, you know, a good time. One thing that I think happens in soccer sometimes is, you know, the kid who's like the youngest, who has a lot of hype, gets far, right? It just seems like they seem just to get far. When a player who had like more steady improvements and gains, who doesn't have the hype, might get missed or might take longer. Like you said, in South Florida, we might find them, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much talent here that sometimes even they might get lost, right? Is that a problem in U.S. soccer, that like the kid who maybe hit puberty first, or the kid who, you know, this is coming with hype, is kind of put into this position they maybe didn't really earn yet, you know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you. I mean, I was around a lot of kids like that.
Yeah.
They, they grow up and then everyone gets like them and they start, not playing too well. But I just feel like I don't agree with that, because, you play good because you want to, because you want to train, because you want to get better. And growing up faster, I mean, it should be an advantage, but really doesn't mean anything, you know? It just depends on how you handle it.
It's true, right? Because sometimes, like you said, like in the long run, it can be something that hinders you once everyone catches up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I just see it a lot now, especially in like, you know, MLS academies. There's a lot of players who, once they hit that U16, U17 range, and they've had that hype for a while, it's almost like that hype gets them through, you know, to second team or to D1, whatever they decide to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so but I do see a lot of changes with like USL, MLS Next 2 bringing in like independent teams. What's it like being on second team? What's that experience like?
I mean, playing for second team is, I'm very grateful for it. It's an opportunity that a lot of kids pray for and dream for. But it's just, for me, I feel like, I want to keep on working because I'm still looking to get better,
Yeah.
Every year get better. And it's a good.
It's just a tool, right? It's a tool to get to where you really want to go. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, I mean, I think that's how you have to look at it. All right, so personally, what makes you more excited? Second team or playing for your national team?
I mean, obviously national team, because that's something special. But second team, every game, every training is like a game.
Yeah.
So, that gets me also very, very like amazed, and it gives me a feeling of wanting to help my teammates get better with my teammates, and that's what I love about second team.
That's a good answer, man. What if you were to say, like, if you were to pinpoint like one thing, or maybe a few things, whatever it would be, that helped get you here where you are today, you know, second team, you know, national team, what do you think those things were?
Well, I also wanna go back. I'm gonna answer in the same way with how you were talking about how players grow and stuff. When I was playing in my early ages, I was always little. I was also that player that was like a late bloomer.
Yeah.
But I think what's helped me from then and now is that I didn't really care. I just, every time a season went by, I will get a mentality that, oh, I need to do better than last year. I need to do better. And I feel like that's helped me in the long run, because even after last season, I got hurt. I barely had any minutes. And this year I went into this season like, I got to start now. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I think that's helped me along the way.
So it's almost like being a smaller player helped you not be intimidated by anything. Is that like, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it when you play, man. Like you go in, even defensively, you go into tackles hard. You play really hard. You play 100 miles an hour. Who are some of the people that push you the most? Whether it be at practice or your national team.
I love that question. Um, well, obviously my dad. My dad is the first one. He's always paying attention to what I do. He's always helping me, and he's always pushing me to get better. And well, also God. God, he can't really talk to me, but I know he's always watching, and I give all my thanks to him. And also, I would like to give a shout out to all my coaches, Gabriel, Coach Gabriel, my tropical coach, Scott, my trainer, Coach Cam, Columbus. All of them have helped me.
All good coaches, all
Yeah.
good people, man.
All pushed me, and they all saw my potential.
Yeah,
I'm very grateful.
yeah, that's awesome, bro. I really love that you mentioned your dad and God because, for whatever reason, maybe it's just because that's the formula. But I talked to so many players, and the players that I've talked to that I feel like are good players that have made it are players that have like strict lives and that believe in God, whether
Yeah.
it be like Christian or a Muslim. But the players that I talk to that may have a strict faith in God, and they have a family that's they always have that person that's like pushing them.
Yeah.
What are some of the practices you have to help keep you, like, especially in Miami, there's a ton of distractions.
Yeah.
I've
There's a
seen
ton of distraction. Yeah.
I've seen some of the best players I ever seen not make it because of Miami. What are some of the things you do, man, to stay on track?
Well, just forget about them. You don't really need them. Obviously, you can have fun a little bit on the off season, maybe hang out with your friends. But if your focus is to do something, you gotta stay with that focus. And I feel like that's the only way to survive out here in Miami for sure.
Absolutely. I was at church, and the pastor was like, our pastor was like, he's like, a lot of people talk about, praying or like trying to do this or that. He's like, man, run from it.
Yeah,
Run from it. You see that thing? Get out of there, bro.
very much.
It's true. Like you have to run from that stuff, especially in Miami.
Mhm.
What are some of the things you like to do outside of soccer, man? To just like reset.
But I mean, I love to hang out with my boys for sure. They're the ones that keep my mind well. They keep me distracted from the game, and whenever I need them, they're there. So probably hang out with my boys. I also like to family time, of course. Everyone must need family time. 'Cause,
Absolutely.
going to a park with my brother, going to church with them, going to eat, and that's pretty much it. I don't really.
Because your brother plays too, right?
Yeah.
He's younger, right?
Mhm.
What are some things you tell your brother, man, to help him out? What's some advice you give your brother?
I mean, I try to give him advice, but when you start growing up,
Yeah.
you sometimes you don't listen,
Yeah,
but I try. I mean, I tell him that every game you have to give effort 100%. Doesn't matter if you play bad, then you go to the next game and give 100.
yeah,
You gotta keep going.
yeah. So one thing that I've been trying to get across to a lot of people when I started, because I came from Ligue 1 French soccer, and I just fell in love with U.S. soccer. And one thing I try to get across to people is they don't realize how high the level is in a lot of respects. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, certain things are just, they might not be as good, but the level's high. USL, MLS Next Pro, playing in MLS Next Pro, what could you tell people about the level and about what you're experiencing on the field?
On my debut, which was against Orlando City, I'm gonna be honest, I was very confused. When I went in, I did well, but when I went in, it felt like the game was like 10 times the speed. And I think that once you're in that level, everyone has their fundamentals, everyone has the mind, everything is the same. I feel like the only difference is how they move, how they go into tackles, the effort, like I was saying. And I think that's the only difference.
So it's almost not the speed of play, but like just your reaction to what's going on
Yeah.
in the field. Yeah.
How you solve the problems, it's just basics.
One thing I see, like across the board, the level looks high. Like you don't really,
Yeah.
you know, I remember in the past, there might be a few players that the level is high, but now like every player on the field level's high, like
Yeah.
has a good level.
Yeah, great players. I mean, like I was saying, I was really confused when I went in and I was like trying to like
To find the level,
yeah.
to find that rhythm. Like, yeah, that's interesting, man. Have you had any chances to watch like the first team enter practice or?
All the time, all the time. I mean, even when we play against them, the level is
So
crazy.
you've got to play against the first team.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
tell us about playing against the first.
Yeah, it's a crazy experience. I mean, I would say, obviously, there's like the level of MLS Next Pro is different from MLS, but like I was saying, I think that the first team is very like very what's the word, like obedient, like
Like
organized, yeah, and every player is in their position and they know what they have to do in that position, and like I was
oriented.
yeah, just very like disciplined, and I feel like that's the difference when you get to the top.
It's here.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say who, but I've talked to players who have played the first team Inter, and they all have told me, like, obviously there's a lot of legends on Inter.
Yeah.
They all have told me that trying to cover Busquets is impossible. I was like, man, what's it like playing against Messi? Like, yo, Messi's good. Messi's good, and he's amazing, but like trying to cover Busquets is impossible.
I mean, of course, because he knows where everything is at. So if you try to press him, he's gone. He's gone the other way. It's hard. I mean, Messi too. Messi dribbles like you don't know when to put your foot in because he has the ball right there and like
Just
it's
baiting
hard.
you.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Just baiting you.
And I mean, like last week, I was watching them do some shooting drills, and I was like with my boy, I was like, oh, like I'll give you $5 if he misses one, and he didn't miss one. He kept on shooting back to back, didn't miss one out of like probably 15 shots.
No way.
It was crazy.
And that's the thing. I think people who don't like have never played soccer and watch it, I'm like, bro, just go to an open net, no goalkeeper, and try to hit 15 shots. It's like, you know, it's not easy. You know, it's not easy. But having Messi here has made a different spotlight on every single player at Inter and on the club in general. What's been your experience been like ever since Messi's got here?
Well, obviously, the club has changed. You know, because the best player in the world is here.
Yeah.
But I think like when I was in UPSL and academy, it was still the same, and even going into MLS Next 2, it was still the same. It's just obviously all eyes are on Inter right now, so that's why I'm choosing to stay here right now because I want to receive the opportunity. You know, that can bring me a lot of doors. So.
Yeah. So what are some things that still keep you motivated to take those next steps, man? What's like when you get up every day, going to second team, driving up to Fort Lauderdale, like what are the things that like keep you going every day?
That I want that life that I've been dreaming as a kid. So I think that's pretty much it. And I don't also want to fail my family. So that's what keeps me going every day.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. So now that you've had a chance to kind of play all over, where were some of like the best soccer like areas you played against, you know, as with Inter?
I've only played 3 games for the second team before I got injured. But
or even with the U19s, like UPSL.
Damn, that's hard. That's hard to think about.
Actually, let's make it more local. Where do you, I've asked this like to everybody who's local. I always ask this question: where do you think in Miami produces the best soccer player? Or I'll say South Florida. I'll include
South
Broward.
Florida?
We'll include Broward. Where do you think makes the best soccer players?
I mean, I gotta say down here.
Yeah, down south, right?
Yeah.
I agree, man. I think it might be Doral, but I'm gonna say down south too.
Doral is pretty good.
When you come from down south, you just hate Doral. It's like you just hate them, but they're really good. No offense to anybody from Doral, we love you, but it's more like a competitive thing. Like Doral is like.
Yeah, I mean when I played with Tropical, I would play against Juisoff, and they were tough. I would say that was like a classical for us.
It's like Doral has such a like amazing like atmosphere for soccer. Doral Soccer Park. They have actual places you can go just to play pickup. even like high school, Doral Academy, downtown
Yeah.
Doral,
Onto.
you know, all those Doral's places are just like soccer central, man. But
I mean, I would say Hialeah too.
Hi-
Hialeah has some ballers.
yeah,
Some ballers that like we were saying, they don't get the opportunity.
yeah, because there's no real outlets in Hialeah.
Yeah.
There's no, and not even MLS Next. There's no real like, well, yeah, now there is. They have Athletum, but still, man, it's really difficult. Being someone who's come up through the youth ranks in the U.S. And Puerto Rico too, but specifically meaning mainland youth pathway. What do you think are some of the challenges for the U.S. youth?
Well, what I love about, like I said, what I love about playing in the youth soccer here is that you're with your friends, you know, that you have so much fun, and you kind of forget of like you gotta play good, you gotta do this, and I think there's not really any problems when you're growing up, except maybe like there's some players that don't like a coach, or maybe they don't play, they don't get minutes, and they switch to another team. But other than that, I don't really think there's any problems playing in the youth system here. You just gotta play good.
Yeah.
You gotta play good.
No, I think like, you know, a lot of people because I agree, I like the youth system. Like a lot of people complain about it, but I do think there's some real benefits to the youth system in the U.S. I think it can be challenging economically for some kids.
Yes, that's very important too.
Yeah, I think that's the only part that, you know, maybe every state or every county should have at least one competitive league team that's like funded or something.
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, I agree. I do like the youth system in the U.S. outside of you know, the economic part. Looking forward, man. What are some of your hopes for the future, man? Your goals for the future?
Well, obviously my goal has always been to be a pro. I mean, I would love to play in the top leagues, you know, but you know, we have to take it step by step. So right now I'm in second team, so I'm trying to push myself, maybe get up to the first team. Also have my doors open for colleges. You know, I'm looking at every opportunity I can get where I can get better and go into that next step.
Find the next step to reach your goal to be a pro, man. I love that. All right, so let's get into you as a player, so we can tell people who, you know, haven't seen you play and who don't know who Cristian Ortiz is. How would you describe yourself as a player?
I will say that I am very versatile. For sure, I'll start with that. I can play wherever the coach puts me. I mean, but I would play wherever the coach puts me, but I prefer to, you know, play up top.
Yeah.
Play left wing 10. I'm very smart. I feel like when I'm on the field, I see things that most players don't see, and I also feel like I'm a player that is very creative. You know, I create plays like you see me play. I also love, you know, going in the one-on-ones. I also love creating a lot of danger in the area and the box. I would say my dribbling is very special. And I thank God that I was born like that.
So you feel like you've always kind of had that, like it's just been in you.
Yeah.
That's cool, bro. And it's what I was like trying to get at. It's like there's not a lot of players who are dangerous. You know, like, you know, it takes somebody who knows how to unlock a defense. When you're going at a good defender, what are some of the key things that somebody should know when you're trying to break down a defender? You have like a telltale sign when to cut, or like or you just feel it?
Yeah. You first gotta see his body, how he's positioned, you know. Also during the game, you have to see if the player's fast, if he's right-footed, left-footed.
So you're reading the players in the game as soon as you get on the field.
Yeah. I mean, that's very important because you got to know who you're going against.
Yeah.
And you also got to see if he's strong, you know, his body. But I think as a winger, going on a one-on-one with, let's say, a right back, I think you just got to see where he's giving you the space. And once he gives you that, you already know where you're going.
Take up.
You already know. And I think one of the most important things that my dad has been telling me since a kid is that you always have to lift up the ball. Whenever you pass someone, always lift up the ball. And I feel like he's I mean, you know, it sucks to say that he's right.
Yeah.
But
It's funny, right? Like, you know, it's like we spend so much time trying to say, man, that guy's not right, or oh man, and then they usually turn out to be right. You know,
Yeah.
experience. That's interesting. That's a really good assessment. I think Leslie too, Coach Leslie, Fafa's dad, and I think one of his favorite moves. He said something similar. That's really interesting. I haven't heard that much.
Yeah, because
we might have to cut that. It might be too much to give away.
but because the defender's always gonna put his foot out.
Yeah.
So you always gotta lift the ball.
Yeah, especially like you're saying at that high level, there's not much space anyway. So
Yeah,
that's a great point. That's a good point. That's why I lost so many bucks. No, 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 that's funny, man. So the other thing that I wanted to ask you is for a kid who is like your brother or someone else who's trying to come up and trying to get to academy level, college, pro, what should they focus on? Like, what is the first thing you say, hey, look, you need to do this?
I would say a lot of technical. I say that if you have a good first touch, you can play wherever you want. I also think that you have to work on yourself, having that focused mind, and also your speed, your strength, and see what you're best at, and just work that to the max. I think that's what you gotta
highlight yeah, I agree with that a lot. And for any fans, anybody who is a fan of Inter, a fan of South Florida players, what should they know about you?
That, damn, I don't know.
Maybe something like what's something a lot of people don't know about you?
That I'm the same as everyone else. That's all I gotta say. That's pretty much it.
No, yeah, you absolutely are. Like, every time I've ever talked to you, man, you're a very down to earth person. And it's funny enough, I was talking to my son about this the other day. A lot of soccer players, or just people in general, anybody who reaches any success, they can lose themselves very quickly. And I think it's really important to kind of stay grounded. So it might sound like a simple answer that you're like everybody else, but it's one of the hardest things to do, is to stay like regular and grounded and down to earth. It's hard, man. You could really easily lose focus, lose track.
Yeah.
It's important.
You're right. I've experienced that with a lot of people I know.
Yeah. So what's been some of the best experience you've had so far in soccer?
I will have to say my debut with Puerto Rico, and also I would say the U20s. The U20s was something else.
Yeah, so you actually got to go against some of your teammates at Inter and U20s on other teams, right? What was that like?
In Haiti, Brian Destin. I went against Chris. I used to play with him in Prime.
Wow.
That's my boy, Chris. He's just committed to Xavier.
Yeah, Francois, right?
Yeah, every player.
Yes. Man.
And also Vaughn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, 3 players you got to go against. Miami FC, 2 Inter players. What was that like, being international? That was World Cup qualifiers, I think?
Yeah, for U20.
World Cup qualifiers. What was that like playing against kids you grew up playing against, essentially, and with at Inter on the international stage?
I mean, it's cool, you get to see them get to a level, and you're very proud of them. But once they get on the field, you're enemies, and you're not really thinking of who's on the
Did it get chippy at all?
I would say yeah. I mean, one of the kids in my team also plays in Inter, Adrian Rosario.
Oh man, there's a ton of Inter kids out there.
Yeah. He got in a fight with Brian Destin. So
really?
That was funny to watch.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Man, I'm really proud of how much talent South Florida has produced, and your group specifically. What do you think about South Florida produces so many great players, young players?
I think that should be seen by everyone at this point. I feel like, they gotta see that Florida is producing all these players, is becoming a hotspot, and that they need to, come see it.
Come check it out. So I always try to ask anybody that we have on who's from Florida, if you were to explain to somebody what is a South Florida player, how would you describe him? Like the characteristics of a South Florida player.
I would say very passionate. They always want to win, and you know, they always want to have that bragging right, that, oh, like, we beat you and we're gonna beat you again and we're gonna beat you. I think that's pretty much it.
Nice, man. And do you have any final words for any fans, anybody who is rooting for you?
Oh, I just wanna thank you, you know, because I've came a long way, but I'm gonna keep on going. So I just want to thank you for being there, and for all the support. So thank you.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate you being on. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you for inviting.
I absolutely am rooting for you. To me, you've been one of the most exciting players, the young players that we have in South Florida. So it's really cool to see you succeed and improve and get closer and closer to your goal, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, bro.